Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
The truth shall set you free.
You can't handle the truth.
We came, we saw, we kicked his ass.
That's not how the Force works. Oh, really? You're cold?
I'm gonna make him an offer again.
I'd buy that for $1.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Hasta la vista, baby.
I don't have friends. I got family.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
I can do this all day.
Yeah, I know.
Hello and welcome back to the Creative Control Movie Podcast. I'm your host, Kenan, and thank you for joining us on today's episode. Joining me from the Creative Control team this week, we have Sacha, who's dialing in from Virginia, America, and we have Neil. How are you guys doing?
Very good, man. How you doing?
All good.
Right, so today's episode, which is episode 38, I believe, we are talking Nintendo. So this is coming off the back of the Super Mario Brothers movie trailer, which dropped, I think it was sometime last week. And it got us thinking, what would a Nintendo cinematic universe look like? What kind of movies do we want to see from the Nintendo franchise? Do we see them as being animated? Do we see any of them being as live action? And if so, is it something that could cross over something similar to the MCU? Are we going to get a Super Smash Bros. Or something like that? So first of all, I want to touch on the Super Mario Brothers trailer. I want to get each of you guys' thoughts on it. So Sacha, I think, you are the guru when I think it comes to this. I think we have to start with you. So give me your thoughts on the Super Mario Brothers teaser trailer.
I don't know, man. I've got to go through my whole experience with this whole this whole thing. So
do it. That's why we're here.
Years ago, I heard a rumble there was going to be another Super Mario movie, and I was just like, eye roll, like, oh my god, like seriously, should we do this again? Not only that, just video game movies fucking suck. Majority of them. Uncharted was a joke. I felt it was a joke. I know some people here liked it, but come on, man, all you Uncharted guys. Tom Holland's not Nathan Drake. Tomb Raider, that wasn't. Yeah, Lisa Vikander was fine as the character, but that movie, as an adaptation of those games, it sucked. They're just, when Sonic is your best offering, that was as good as it got. Sonic was okay, but it wasn't like a true interpretation of Sonic the Hedgehog. It was kind of like that first movie. If Jim Carrey weren't in it, that movie would have been fail. Let's be fair. Let's call it for what it is, kind of thing. And then the second one, they kind of responded to what people wanted, and then they cherry picked and put some goodness in there. So, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not shitting on the Sonic films. I surprisingly enjoyed them, kind of thing. What they were, for what they were, good, fun kids films. But Illuminations. For me, I like. Not the Minions movie, not the standalone one, the original.
Oh, Despicable Me.
Despicable Me, yeah.
I like that. I like that film. Okay, everything else they done, Sing and like the Dr. Zeus thing and stuff, not really been the same kind of thing. For me, early Pixar or Pixar is the gold standard, or was the gold standard. I haven't seen the latest thing they've done, but it's I'm just kind of like, I just wasn't feeling Illuminations doing their thing with Mario. I was just like, we'll see. And then obviously they showed the cast list and Chris Pratt and all of this stuff. And, that I didn't really care about it as much as some people on the internet are. I was just like, cool. But I was expecting them to sound like who they sound like. And I just didn't care about this movie. But then I see this trailer. That opening, Jack Black as Bowser. Oh my God, bro! Like,
Open the gate.
and brought the power. Okay, not even that. That is how you conquer the Mushroom Kingdom, yo. Like, I was just like, I was in awe. Like, for starters, I was just like, okay, cool. How's he come? Okay, man didn't even just bring the airship. He just damn brought the whole of World 8 from Super Mario 3 to the doorstep of the Penguin Kingdom. And I was just like, they got the penguins from Mario 64 and they have their own kingdom. And then obviously if you play further games and stuff, yeah, that's the thing. And I was just like, oh my days. And then like Magic Cooper comes out. He's called Carmack or something in the later games. I didn't know he had a name. I just know him as Magic Cooper from the Super Mario Brothers World Manual. Okay, so Carmack, if I'm saying it wrong, I do apologize. I ain't played anything past Mario Galaxy 2. So yeah. So and just saying that, I've played the majority of Mario games in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Galaxy 2, that was kind of like where I stopped, and not because I'm in my 40s. I don't, I'm selective of what I play and stuff, and the Wii U was kind of like a dark moment for me. It's only been recently where I bought a Switch and I'm catching up on the goodness.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I got a whole gen to catch up on. So and at the moment I'm playing Zelda, the new Zelda, and yeah, Nintendo fanboys, trust me. All right. I skipped one generation. All right, so don't execute me. All right, but when I saw fucking Bowser come to town and introduced by Magic Cooper, I was just like, oh my gosh, the love automatically in that shot is the attention to detail. More I might add is that Nintendo do their own Nintendo Directs. That is to their consumer base. That's why they've not really cared about E3 for years. They do their own thing and it works for them. What brilliant marketing strategy then to release it as a Nintendo Direct first to their own consumers to open it up. That was a spark of brilliance. And then the other thing, because let's look at their introduction before the trailer. Shigeru Miyamoto has saying he himself personally has been working with Illuminations for 7 years on this project. And I was just like, wow, okay. That speaks loud to me a little bit. At first I thought it was just industry fluff until I saw the trailer, and then the amount of attention to detail in this whole trailer, not just that opening sequence, impeccable. It's mind blown. It's even that first poster. That first poster made me go,
"Oh, gorgeous!"
Yeah, I was like, "Yeah, that's Mario. That is Mario." And then, I was in awe. I'm more impressed with this Mario trailer than the whole of Phase 4 of the MCU, and I mean that. I actually legit mean that. This is not me joking or trolling people. I mean that. I'm excited. I never thought I would be. I want it to be good. Now, I know there's a lot of controversy on Chris Pratt and his voice, but you got to understand, I don't really care. And when I say that, it's like, yeah, okay, I'm going to butcher the guy's name because I don't really follow voice actors, but the guy, Charles Martinet, I apologize, I don't know his name, but you got to understand, back in 96 or 95, yeah, it was 95, Computer Exchange, Harrow, N64, the Japanese version got imported to England, okay, and it was there. I was with comedian Imran Yusuf, who's my boy, okay, and we saw, and my boy Dylan, and we saw a N64 for the first time, where I famously held the controller wrong because I didn't know there was a trigger at the bottom of that thing, and playing Mario 64, and Imran cusses me out over that every single day, trust me. So playing Mario 64 for the first time, and I hear that Italian plumber voice for the first time, and my first thought is, man, they messed up the voice because, I'm in my 40s. I was around for the NES and stuff, and you got to understand all the NES adverts, and we had the Super Show, the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. He was had a thick Brooklyn accent. He was an Italian American, and in some cases, he was just an American guy, just sounded like an American guy. You know what I mean? Like, the proper Italian accent that they did with the games from N64 onwards. That was something new. Okay, now for me, when I heard Chris Pratt was the voice, I was like, oh, okay, fair enough. Fair enough. The only thing I was weirded out was like, okay, so Donkey Kong's just going to sound like Chris Pratt. That's going to weird me out a little bit, but I can get used to that, But, I'm just like, cool, Chris Pratt's Chris Pratt. All right, cool. But I understand being, because I'm a fan of most things, I do understand the affiliation to the guy's voice. And for people that have grown up, because you got to understand, people in their 30s, they grew up with Mario 64, and that was their first interpretation of Mario, and he's still doing the voice now for all Nintendo games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and all other products as well.
Yeah, and he's even credited in the movie, because I think he's doing loads of different characters and stuff in the movie as well. But you know, I totally get why people would be mad and why there's an outroar, especially with video game adaptations. You know, that audience love their voice actors. You know what I mean? Their voice actors are king and they're beloved and stuff. So I totally understand the backlash, but at the same time, for me, I just want a good movie. All right.
Yeah.
They've shown me all the bells and whistles, and that's cool. They've honey dick my dick, okay, and it's up there, man. But like I'm telling you,
Sasha's all in.
All right, it has to be a good movie. It has to be a good movie. Do you know how much I like Mario? I actually wrote an outline for a Mario movie myself. I'm not gonna lie, seriously.
No, I remember us discussing this, and it had an opening similar to Star Wars, if I remember correctly. So,
well, hey, they did it. They did it there. They did it better.
Yeah, exactly, with the ship coming over. Yeah.
But I had the similar kind of thing with the ship coming in on the kingdom, but they were going to go straight to Princess Peach's place, but it would have been her dad.
Yeah.
But the penguins, bare joke. Just bare joke.
Do you yield?
Yeah. I just hope they have a reference. You know what? Mario 64, he didn't just pick up that baby penguin and throw him off the cliff. I did that all the time. I think I do it every time I play Mario 64 because I'm scared of it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a thing.
I think Chris Pratt's mistake is that, look, when he says he grew up playing the game, and I'm not to say that he didn't, yeah. But when he comes out and he says the voice is going to be something that you haven't heard before. Well, actually, I think he said it's the voice you haven't heard before in Mario, which, to be fair, is not. We haven't heard his voice in Mario before. But I think he set the expectation that it was going to be something different. Yeah. What we heard was him. There was a slight accent there.
Yeah, there was.
It just sounded like Chris Pratt, and I think that's where the frustrations come from, because the expectation was set differently. If he hadn't have said that, people would have been like, Chris Pratt's voicing, he's going to sound like Chris Pratt. But he set himself up slightly to fail there. I mean, personally, I think Jared Leto, with his House of Beauty accent, should be doing this. But that's just me.
I thought that too. I actually thought that too. I really did think that too. I was like, this would have been perfect.
It's me, I'm Mario. He'd have been perfect.
He would have been perfect. But you know what? Though? Oh God! No, carry on. I've lost my train.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So anyway, coming on to a little fun fact actually in terms of the voice. So, there was also the animated series Saturday Supercade back in the early '80s, and Peter Cullen actually voiced Mario in that show. If you're familiar with the voice of Peter Cullen, he is the voice of Optimus Prime.
Oh my God!
Exactly. So yeah, a little fun fact there. Exactly. I didn't know that until I did research for this episode. And I was like, okay, who's voiced Mario? And I'm like, Peter Cullen's like, no, what? But there you go. Peter Cullen also voiced Mario. Neil, what was your reactions to the Super Mario Bros. Trailer?
I was all right with it. I didn't hate it. I thought it looked exactly like Mario. So that was a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Everything about the trailer was just Mario. My history with Mario pretty much stops at like Super Mario World on the SNES, because I never had an N64, so I never played it. I mean, you know,
you missed out.
I have dabbled with it because I have friends who have, you know, I have friends who have like, you know, Switch or Wii U, so I've dabbled with Mario since then. But you know, for the most part, my history with him it stops at like SNES. I didn't really care about the voice thing, and I still don't. And the reason I don't is predominantly for two reasons. One, I mean, Mario can sound like anything, really. But it's you know, because it's a video game character. Like, I don't have I mean, I do have the whole Italian, like, oh, it's me, it's Mario. You know, I've seen it in so many things. But also, a thing to remember, I've heard 2 sentences out of Chris Pratt's as Mario.
That's what
one of them was one word.
Yeah.
One of them was, whoa. And the other was, okay, let's go, or whatever he said. I don't know.
Mushroom Kingdom, here we come. Or something like that.
And I'm like, okay. Like, I'm sure I will hear. I need a full trailer. I need to hear him, you know, coherent sentences before I can judge whether or not it's right, good or bad. Yeah. But other than that,
agree.
And
yeah, totally agree with you there, Neil. I mean, we only got a tease, and there's barely anything to be able to for him to deserve this backlash. To be quite honest, if he had like a full proper voice thing, then sure. I hope Luigi gives us the Death Star. That was the other thing. Luigi's Mansion. They gave us Luigi's Mansion. All right. They not only gave us Mario Brothers, they gave us Luigi's Mansion at the end, bro. Like maybe they both split up. Maybe they both split up when they go in the Mushroom Kingdom. So we get a little bit of Luigi's Mansion kind of vibe going on there, kind of thing. That would be cool. And I noticed you had all the ghosts and stuff, and you had all the skeleton turtles and stuff. Oh man, it was so cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. Ken, go.
So I think when it comes to Mario's voice, obviously we've had the live action, we've had the Bob Hoskins version, and you know, obviously the internet wasn't around there, but I don't remember everyone bitching and complaining that he wasn't putting on an Italian accent in that movie or anything like that. So, yeah, I think, you know, it is kind of a bit blown out of proportion. The one thing that made me question the voice probably more than what I would have is that online I started to see all the other countries' variations of the voice. Now, what you'll find with most voice actors is they will have somebody in that country who always does their voice for a movie. So if it's Chris Pratt, every country will have its actor who does the voice of Chris Pratt's movies. Same for every other actor, The Rock, Leonardo DiCaprio, whoever it may be. But this seemed different because obviously they weren't trying to be Chris Pratt voicing Mario. They were doing their own take on Mario, which sounded a lot more like the Italian version.
Yeah.
But, you know, I listened to the French version, the Spanish version, the Italian version and stuff like that. They're all quite different, but they're a lot more of that high-pitched, let's go, you know, it's time to go kind of thing, where Chris Pratt's was a lot more mundane, so it seems more excitable. Maybe it's to be more kid-friendly, or maybe it's to stay true to the game's voice. But that surprised me that the remit wasn't the same for all of them. Yeah. They seem to be able to do their own thing when it comes to Mario. The rest of the voices sounded the same, that, you know, for the characters. But Mario's quite different, so that took me back a bit.
Yeah,
I wonder if they're teasing us, and that is not his voice at all.
Maybe. But I guess that's kind of.
Are they trying to do a Sonic where they give you one thing? Maybe they saw with the backlash of Sonic and like, you know what? That generated more interest than if they actually got it right the first time. So let's just do this version of Chris Pratt doing Chris Pratt. But when the movie or the second trailer drops, it'll be a completely different voice, and the fans will be like, "Yeah, we made the change. We made the change. It's down to us." And Nintendo are like, "Yeah, we had this in the bag months ago, bro." But let them think that. Let them think. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I think, you know, I'm not that familiar with Mario. Again, I didn't have a Super NES, or I didn't even have a Super NES. I didn't have a Super NES or an N64. I was on the Sega side. So I had a NES, and, you know, when you got the NES, when it first came out, you got Mario with Duck Hunt, and those are the two games I rinsed. So I am familiar with it, Mario 2 and 3 and stuff like that, but not the next generation stuff. So it looks like I expected it to look, but, you know, again, more refined than maybe I expected. What's that, Sash?
Here's my question to both of you guys. Have both of you guys finished Mario?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was it.
What's the question?
Mario 1?
The question?
Have you finished Mario 1?
Of course I finished Mario 1.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. You're in the club. You're in the club.
Dude, I was like 8 years old. Maybe I did. I don't know. But I think I did.
No,
I think I played it to the point.
Hey, like I had to go to work the next day.
Yeah, I know. There's a game I didn't get to the end to was Turtles on the freaking Nintendo because that game was impossible. But I do believe I finished Mario. Okay, so that's Mario. That's coming out. We've seen what it looks like. We've seen it's it's going to be great quality. Let's talk about a wider Nintendo cinematic experience in terms of they've got a lot of good properties which they can potentially turn into movies. So my question to you guys before we get on to which properties, do we feel that we would be better off getting the right type of movie for the right property, whether it's live action or animation? Or do we look at Mario as a template and say, you know what, it looks and feels like the game, let's put all the games in an animation form? What's your guys' kind of first instincts on that?
I think every movie in this Nintendo verse should be animated or CGI. And the reason I think so is because I think we live in a world today where you can tell whatever story you want to tell in that form. And I think honestly it's important to remember the games that I consider Nintendo, they were made and geared towards children.
Yep.
One of them is geared towards older children, teens and late teens. The rest are all geared to, your 8 to 13 or 8 to 15 range. And I think the idea, even if they have like more mature themes in them, and I think if you keep a certain level of continuity, because even if the art style is different, if you keep a certain level of continuity, similar to the MCU, it doesn't matter if it's horror related, it doesn't matter if it's more comedic or not. No matter which way you spin it, there's a certain level of continuity to everything. Yes, because it's all connected, but there is a level of continuity that runs through it. And I think if they're going to do a Nintendo verse, hypothetically, they're gonna, they run it into a culminates with the Super Smash Brothers movie. Keep a certain level of continuity, but remember who your audience is. Your audience is going to be children and adults who were once the children who were in love with these characters. Yeah,
I see that. Sash, what's your thoughts?
You could go either way. I think the two properties that could benefit from a live action would be Zelda and Metroid, to be honest. Metroid.
Zelda and Metroid.
Zelda and Metroid. Metroid would be very much a sci-fi kind of film, to be fair. I think it would benefit more from being a sci-fi film, especially with a female antagonist, it being a female antagonist, which for people that are into films and not into Nintendo, not a lot of people know that Samus Aran is actually a woman. So it's just because you see the robot, you think she's a robot. Think it's a robot, or when you find out there's someone in there, you think it's a man. But no, it's a woman. It always has been a woman. And I think in the climate now, you could probably make a pretty good action sci-fi film out of Metroid that, just don't lean into when men are bad and kind of thing. Just tell a nice sci-fi story with Metroid, and it would rule. I just want to see a decent female heroine just literally kicking ass like Ellen Ripley and Sarah Connor kind of thing. Have a fight aliens, do stuff. And I think a Metroid movie. Yes, definitely. Charlize Theron could play that character in her sleep, man, for sure. in terms of Zelda, you could. The thing is with Legend of Zelda, I think, for me personally, this is how I would adapt Legend of Zelda. I'd do it how Castlevania did Castlevania. I'd get that same studio, and it doesn't have to be as violent as Castlevania because it's Zelda. You know what I mean? But have a series that is X amount of series long, etc. Have a plan, etc., and then end it with a 2-hour movie. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be Lord of the Rings thing, which is what everyone kind of wants it to go. But I would probably do it as like an epic anime that, you know what I mean, hits those things. It doesn't need to be anything more than that, and I think that would be amazing. And if you wanted to link Zelda to a Smash Brothers thing, then sure, just keep the same voice actor. You know what I mean? It'd just be in different style of animation for Smash Bros. You know, or you could do Lord of the Rings style Zelda, but then people are. Here's the thing, all right, which I'm gonna say off the bat. Okay, so with Zelda, for people that haven't played Zelda, I think the core thing people got to realize, there are some sequels to some installments and others. And I know some people try to link each installment with other ones, etc. But I think what people got to realize is the fundamentals of Zelda if they adapt Zelda. Each game is the same story told a little differently. They're all it's the same story, essentially, just a little bit different, just told a little bit differently because it's a legend. Miyamoto said this in the 90s that each iteration isn't necessarily a sequel, it's a legend. It's the same story, just told a little differently. So, sure, some fans...
Yeah, it's like when stories are passed down from generation to generation, depending who tells it, there's a slight variation. So when it's retold, the essence is the same, but the details are fluctuated.
Exactly. So in one aspect, Zelda does lend itself to a reboot or a retelling of stuff that we've seen before and stuff. It's just that you have to have the constants of Link, Zelda, Ganon, the Triforce of Power, the Triforce of Wisdom, the Triforce of Courage, and that kind of, and that sort of things. As long as those elements are in the film, you can't really go wrong. But obviously, some fans latch on to Ocarina of Time being the most popular installment and stuff. So they'll want to see that story told, a certain way, etc. Some older fans prefer Link to the Past, which was the Super Nintendo one. And, and I'm sure there are fans that like Twilight Princess or the later ones now. I don't know any of those people that prefer those installments better than Ocarina because it's always Ocarina of Time, since the N64 days. But I mean, and sure, being a big Zelda fan, like The Adventure Link was a direct sequel to Zelda 1 on the NES. You had the Game Boy one, Link's Awakening, which was set in the universe of A Link to the Past because it came out in the same era, if that makes sense. But that's more or less a side story than, you know what I mean? Because, And then you have Majora's Mask, which was a prequel to Link to the Past. But each of those eras are different systems and they're sequels to games on those systems, if that makes sense. I think Twilight Princess was probably the only one where it might have been a sequel to Ocarina of Time. But then you look at something like Wind Waker, which was the cel-shaded one, which was completely different. You know what I mean? They really, if anyone was trying to connect that to anything, you can't. You know what I mean? Because, Princess Zelda's a pirate now, and you know what I mean? It completely flipped the switch on what Zelda could be. Miyamoto even thought about making a science fiction version of Legend of Zelda where it was completely different, but using those story threads of the Triforce and the princess being kidnapped, and you know what I mean? Like he was going to go all out, but then obviously the IP was so ingrained in people that they didn't want to take a risk on doing that. You know what I mean? So, you know, my point is, in terms of film, it's a, you know what I mean? You could do a retelling kind of thing, but there's always going to be a kind of backlash. And
I think
with the reason why I went animation wise is because if it's a series, you could adapt all the elements from all the games and do it within the fundamentals of the lore and have it be big and epic in scope, going on seasons, and everybody gets their ice cream and eat it, you know. But that's just me.
One thing that I thought of when you were talking it out, it was because I think with people of like our, like, you know, age bracket of like people who started playing these games at, you know, pretty much, I want to say early in their conception, because you know, it was like the first time I ever experienced anything Zelda wise was on the original Game Boy.
Oh, okay, so Link's Awakening.
Yeah, Link's Awakening. So I think like the fact that they're the same story told over and over, I think that lends itself to something that could happen. It just popped in my head. Is do like, I don't know, maybe like 4 different versions of Zelda, but do them all in different styles. So maybe, okay, spend a bit more money, make a live action one, then maybe make a CGI one, then a straight up anime one, you know, and you do them, but each of them maybe, I saw that, but, you know, each of them is, maybe one of them is, you know, Ocarina of Time, and another one is, you know, A Link to the Past, and then you do it in such a way so that anyone who watches one of them, you've watched your story, and you're like, cool, I enjoyed it, and now it's like, oh, well, here is, you know, oh, you watched Ocarina of Time, great. Here's, you know, A Link to the Past. Oh, and immediately it's not the same art style. It's not the same. It's whether it's live action or a CG or whether it's, you know, traditional hand drawn, traditional anime. Any way you put it, it's something different. And then because obviously even in the games, even though the story is the same, things that happen in the things that happen from story beat to story beat are different. So you can show that to another audience. And then if you're really like, I love Zelda, I'm deep rooted in Zelda, you can watch them all.
I was going to say, what you could do is use the different platforms. So, for instance, you know, one will be a theatrical release, one could be a Netflix release, one could be on, you know, HBO Max or whatever it is. Secure a license with each of them, so whoever your audience is, you capture them with a different version of it. So like you say, if you want to go and find them all, you can, but whatever you're subscribed to or whatever your intake of media is, you can absorb a version of Zelda.
I mean, I mean that could be one way of doing it. I mean, but I think it's a tough one myself. The other hurdle is, should Link talk? Because he doesn't talk. There's no character. He's the player. He's just called Link. You know what I mean? And he's like video games. You know, people talk at Link, but he doesn't really have a personality and stuff. The closest Link as a character has ever had a personality is the 80s TV show where he's like, "Excuse me, princess," as his catchphrase. And, you know, everyone back then thought he was really annoying and stuff and, you know, whatnot. But, like, you know, I like that show. But, you know, it's a bit of a weird one because whoever they get as the role, you know, they're going to do they're open to interpretation on what they can do with that character, really, because he's really a non-character because he's the user. You know what I mean? Link is the user, and he doesn't have lines of dialogue. It's everybody talking to you. The most input into the conversation is yes or no. So,
But that's the thing is, you like, again, apologies to interrupt, but
you could make him mute.
You can lean into that. You could lean into that. You could make one of them
first person.
One of them is first. But what is that thing? Was it Black Mirror, where it was like point and click, or not point and click, but you decided what happened.
Oh right, yeah.
You could do that for Zelda. You could have it's first person POV, and you're just going through the game. You decide what happens next. Your character never speaks, but it's you doing it. An interactive movie that's Zelda. You
do it like hardcore Henry, where I was all first person.
No.
I mean, not to that extreme. That movie was wild. But Ken gets exactly what I mean. It's like you have it in a way where Zelda could actually be something that you could make a franchise out of Zelda films and TV shows just off the strength of all these different interpretations.
Yeah. The way that I would do it is whatever medium I decide to do, whether it's animation, live action or something, I would pretty much stick to that. And basically it would start like with a group of people around a campfire, and they say, have you heard the Legend of Zelda? And each of them will tell their version of it. So if you imagine the movie like The Last Duel, where you had things which happened differently from different people's perspectives, but it hit the same beats in certain sections, I would do that, and I'd make it a series rather than a movie, but each episode was a different version of that story. Event. So it always starts with those people talking around the campfire, and it just certain things will hit, but it goes off in different directions because of where they were in their world. They heard that part of the story. They didn't maybe hear the other part of the story. And, so maybe they're coming together to write the definitive book on it or whatever it is. But that's kind of how I would do Zelda.
Yeah. I think
that's an original take. As definitely an original take, for sure. But yeah, Ken, does your Riverside record when you've gone off so it would have my take?
I hope so.
Okay. I gave my take.
Yeah, no, it will, because as long as yours is recording, so actually, as long as yours is recording, it will upload.
It will record your part. Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah, so I've already said my take. So yeah,
cool. That's cool. Yeah, Riverside, I've got issues with you, bro. Every time I'm recording a podcast now, it's kicking people out, dropping, not recording. I'm moving to a different platform. So if there's any podcasters out there who can suggest a new platform, please do that. Right. So,
delete.
Oh man, it has great features, but if it worked, the editing process would be nice and simple at the end. It's just too many things go wrong during the process. But anyway, so yeah, I think there's too much focus these days on having a cinematic universe. So for me, I wouldn't try and make all my properties fit together. You could have a Super Smash Bros. Movie, which is a spin-off from the Mario movie, where all the characters appear in the style of the Mario movie. They don't need to have their own movies to come in, So, because obviously you've got Pokemon there, which has already got its own animation. They would just appear in that movie. If you think about the DC game they've released online, the DC Universe game, where you've got all the different characters in this fighting game, it's like that, They don't have to have all these different movies. They're all just there, and they look like the animated version that fits that style. So that's what I would do. So
realistically, I wouldn't even make a Smash Brothers movie. I mean, who's the big villain? A giant hand. The end boss of Smash Brothers is just a giant hand.
Why not? We've got a giant starfish and Suicide Squad. It can be whatever you want it to be, right? So
that's the thing. I think again, the reason why I was like
kids playing with toys, basically. So I don't know.
You know what?
I never thought the Lego movie would work, but it did. So
Well, that's what I was going to say. My idea of it would be exactly how you see the Lego movie, where the whole movie is going on, and then it shifts to the real world, and it's a guy playing with it, and then it shifts back in. Exactly that, and it's like the hand is is a dude who's getting bored of playing with this stuff, or it's like But the reason I would say that
Sid from Toy Story.
yeah, but I think the reason why I kind of said whether it's a shared universe or not a shared universe, have everything in a similar thread is because we have the MCU, right? And for better or worse, MCU has changed cinema, right? But I think the MCU is its own thing, and it's never going to be anything different than what it is. No matter whether it's What If and it's animated, or if it's the MCU TV shows, if it's the MCU movies, like no matter what it is, it's always going to be the MCU as it is, as it stands. And anything live action is always going to automatically get compared to the MCU. I mean, anything that's shared is going to get compared to the MCU, but anything live action will always be compared to the MCU. Whereas, basically, the fact that Super Mario Brothers it's a children's film, regardless of any way they're going to spin it. It's made by the studio that do Minions and that. It is straight up a kids' film. Make the kids' version of MCU. We have the MCU for teenagers and adults. Make a children's MCU, which you could utilize with video games that are predominantly played nowadays by children.
So we've got Mario, obviously. Zelda's a big hitter. I could see, and Metroid's not as well known to mass audiences, but you know what? You can definitely see potential in a movie version of that. Especially, you know what? There was a John Woo movie on it. Well, John Woo was supposed to direct it years ago. So, obviously they've looked at that property and thought, we can see a serious sci-fi out of this, You've got other properties as well that are most popular and stuff. Star Fox, for example, I think would make a great Saturday morning TV show. The route I'd go with that, the dream route I would go with that, the non-marketable one would be like with puppets. If you look at that original advert, and if you look at the box art for the original Star Fox,
it did look dope.
Those are guys in puppets, and it looked dope as fuck, and it was physical live action. Imagine Top Gun or Star Wars, but Star Fox. You know what I mean? That Rogue Squadron movie, forget that. You give me Star Fox with that crew, I'm all in. If it was with puppets, even better. Put some joke in it.
Puppets, claymation, right? Stop motion.
It'd be amazing. But realistically, it's probably going to be CGI and stuff. But you know what? I'd say you could do massive with a movie and have it just like, you know what I mean? But
like
I'd want
Guardians.
it to be like Guardians, kind of thing. They get their mission. They got to defeat Andros. They get in their air wings and they go light up the skies, and you know what I mean, just destroying all those bad guys. Have Star Wolf and that after them. Be sick. It would be honest.
You nailed it perfectly.
Saturday morning, but I'd generally do it as a Saturday morning cartoon, and then probably have a movie for the kid. Kind of like how Transformers was done. That's how I'd actually approach all the majority of these IPs, like Transformers. F-Zero would make a good. I don't know, it could make a series or a movie. But when I think about it, I just think like the Nintendo version of what's it? What's the one? Oh fuck, the racing car one. Speed Racer.
Oh, Speed Racer. Yeah.
Speed Racer, but it's set in the future. That's basically, you know what I mean? You could do so much with that. And I'm just thinking, Punch Out would be a great series for teens.
Yeah,
it would be like. If you guys ever watch the anime,
I would do like Cobra Kai.
yeah, you could do it like Cobra Kai. But have you ever watched the anime Hajime no Ippo, which is also known as Fighting Spirit. That's like one of my favorite animes of all time. It's basically that. You've got a young kid, Little Mac. He meets a trainer, and then it's just him preparing for the next opponent. You go up, and then you could even have Mike Tyson show up. You know what I mean? Because the other name for it when it first came out in the West, it was called Mike Tyson's Punch Out. But then when they lost their license, they changed it just to Punch Out. So
did they? That's the thing. Did they lose the license, or was it that Michael had controversy and then they dropped him?
I'm not too sure. There's someone right in the comments if they know better. But I know that there were two versions of it, and then they changed Mike Tyson to another character. And stuff. My favorite iteration of that game was the Super Nintendo one and the Wii version. The Wii version was amazing. Okay, but it didn't sell well.
Okay. Oh no, that one. Yeah. Okay, so I had some thoughts on the sequels to Super Mario. Okay, and what got me thinking is that Mario's transported into like the Mushroom Kingdom. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so he's not from there. You know, I thought. Could he be from real world? Does he go from real world to anime?
Yeah,
I was like, no, because he doesn't look at him. Because I was like, well, he doesn't look at himself like, oh shit, I'm animation. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, I think he's just in like in a different world. Like, but what I was thinking,
he'd be in Brooklyn coming to the Mushroom Kingdom. They work on a drain, and they like the
live action
movie. Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
So what I would do is I would have it as a multiverse. And he's a multiverse jumper, and base it like Quantum Leap. So each sequel, he jumps into a different version of himself, and he has to achieve a task to be able to move on. So next one, he jumps, it's like a Mario Kart. So he's a Formula One driver. He's trying to, and he has to like win the race, become the champion. Then next one is Mario Baseball. He's a struggling baseball player. And having quantum leaping like throughout the sequels into your different Mario games. So then you can have Dr. Mario. Exactly. You can have Dr. Mario. He's like, suddenly he's like, it's like, and it'll be the post-credit scene on each one. So like he'll drop in and then suddenly he'll be in a surgeon's thing with this guy open in front of him and be like, Mamma mia! And he's just like going across, and then you've got like Mario Party, so then make it like a frat house type movie. He's going to college or university or something. Make it American Pie style. You could have so much fun with that franchise if you just played with it a little bit. And then ultimately he meets Sonic at the Olympics, and you get your crossover with Sonic, which then takes you on to your Super Smash Bros. Movies. Done! Thank you, Nintendo.
We all know the real sequel should have him like in the Dream World versus War. Just saying.
Okay, so are there any other properties which we think that Nintendo could do? What about like Kirby or like Donkey Kong? Does he get his own thing?
Isn't there a Donkey Kong movie coming?
Not that I'm aware of, but
he's appearing in the Mario movie.
Yeah.
Oh, but he's just voiced by Chris Pratt again.
No, he's Seth Rogen.
Seth Rogen.
Oh, okay. Forgive me, sir.
You could do with Donkey Kong something because, like, he has his own like game and stuff.
Yeah, Donkey Kong Country, man.
Donkey Kong Country has a famous Donkey Kong rap, which everyone should check out on YouTube. It's not that great, but anyway. There was actually a Donkey Kong TV show. There was a Donkey Kong cartoon.
Yeah.
Back in the early 2000s. It was CGI and stuff. I don't know how well received it was, etc. But I'd imagine go around a similar route, etc. off that, or just do a movie. I don't know. You could do anything's possible. But I don't know, I wasn't that big a fan. Like I played the first Donkey Kong Country, and then I was kind of done after that. I played a little bit of Donkey Kong Country Returns on like one of the new systems for about 5 minutes, but like I just miss OG Donkey Kong when he was fighting Mario.
Yeah.
Look, if I don't see Donkey Kong dash a barrel in this movie, I'm gonna be upset.
They got to have a reference. They got to, you know what I would do in Mario?
Maybe he owns a bar and they're like barrels of beer or something like that.
Oh,
and then breaks out a fight in the bar. All right. Any other properties you guys want to touch on?
Kirby, that could just be a cartoon. A lot of these things lend themselves to Saturday morning kid shows. That's the thing. Kirby, I could not see a live action. You know, not unless you do something crazy, funky, and weird. Maybe you could make a horror movie out of Kirby. I don't know. That'd be crazy. Have this big thing sucking people up and talking trees and penguins.
Sounds like the Blob.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Because his big nemesis is a penguin, right? I swear it's a penguin with a hammer or something.
Yeah,
like,
one of his villains is a penguin.
I know the first boss is a tree. Is a tree. Every time it's a damn tree. And I'm just like, what the hell? I'm like, what the hell is this? But it's a fun game. It's a fun game. Does it lend itself to a storyline? I don't know. But that's why I'm saying, like, kids Saturday morning cartoon would be perfect. And then if they make a big enough lore out of the cartoon, then spin off a movie out of it. And I think that's the same with most of these games kind of thing. Because to go all out and do a movie, it says you have more substance to it. And some of them you'd have to get weird, you know? But that's where I stand with Kirby. Just do a Saturday morning cartoon of Kirby. What other IPs they got? I think Punch Out would make a good teen drama, you know, for a guy that wants to aspire to be a boxer. And that's really it. I can't really think.
What about Contra? Is that owned by Nintendo?
No, that's Konami. But I could get weird. Look, this is how I would do Contra. I do completely CGI. Completely. There's a reason. Okay, there's a reason. Okay, when I say CGI, I would do it like Avatar. Okay, like, but it has to be photorealistic because I want two A-list Hollywood actors to play themselves in their prime, and that is Arnold and Sly. Okay,
right.
I pick Arnold and Sly fighting aliens. That's it. That is it. And then to save on the CGI budget, okay, and this is to appease both versions of the game. You see, in America, they were U.S. Marines, okay, that kind of look like Arnold and Sly, okay,
yeah, just a bit.
But in Japan and Europe, they were in exoskeleton robot suits. So
I didn't know that.
I would add that to the lore. I'd have the best of both worlds, and then you save the CGI time on
covering
the actors,
their face up.
With these cool mechas that like fight aliens and stuff, and like have it be a voiceover from Arnold and Sly, like hey Arnold, and like get down, just like.
So it's a cross between like Avatar and Gemini Man or something like that. So it's just like you get the.
Yeah, man. I would do that. Have them fight some aliens attack Earth. They call Contra. It's a top secret unit. We'd have, if you play the Mega Drive version, you actually had more than two Contras. It was still a 2-player game, but there were more people on the team and stuff.
Right.
So random people and stuff have and I would just have Arnold as look. You cannot have anyone but Arnold and Sly in my version, okay? Because that's who they were based on. But look at the cover art of Contra. Look at the cover art of Contra.
Totally.
Tell me that is not Arnold from Predator and Sylvester Stallone from First Blood. Because it totally is.
Can we not just have like The Rock and John Cena or something?
No. I want my Arnold. I want my Sly. I want my 80s sliced cheese. I want an homage to the 1980s. It cannot be The Rock or John Cena. Done. Directed by Michael Bay.
Yes. All right, awesome. Okay, I think that kind of wraps up the Nintendo Cinematic Universe. Really appreciate your time today, guys. That was a good chat. I enjoyed that. But yeah, let us know in the comments, what kind of thing would you do with the Nintendos? Would you keep it all under one cinematic universe, make it all animated to match up with Mario and do everything like that? Would you let everything go off and do its own thing? Have we missed some titles that we can maybe do? I think Duck Hunt might be a little bit controversial these days, so maybe that's not one.
I want a Duck Hunt movie.
And you know what?
not only do I want a Duck Hunt movie, I want a Duck Hunt movie where they basically treat it like Bugs Bunny cartoons, where Elmer Fudd was trying to kill him, and the duck is just like outsmarting the hunter, and he's just like, "I'm gonna mess with you today, boy."
So almost have it sort of like a Roadrunner. You know, it's like the duck is a Roadrunner. You got someone and like you got the dog, right? So you got to fit the dog in there. He's the one who picks up the ducks. So, but anyway, if we missed any titles, let us know what you do with the Nintendo Cinematic Universe. Guys, anything that you want to talk about? Anything you want to pimp out?
Not yet.
Okay, so I'm pimping out Antstream. If you into retro games, if you like online tournaments and beating other opponents' high scores, Antstream's for you. www.antstream.com, and just download the app or just play the web version on your laptop or your iPhone. And basically, you can play all these old school arcade games, even point and click games like The Secret of Monkey Island. You can play Pac-Man. You can play Mortal Kombat. They've got a big roster of titles across different formats from Commodore 64, arcade, Amiga, NES. They've got loads of titles. Just don't expect Mario Brothers or anything like that because Nintendo ain't going to give them no out. Check them out. I'm a bit biased, but they are the #1 streaming games company ever on planet Earth. I'm biased because I work for them, but trust me, there's no one else in the competition because Google Stage is dead. And that's all I've got to say.
It's a fantastic platform. Like Sacha said, you can do it from your browser or you can download the app. So I've got it on my phone as well. You can do it on the go. And it's a great bit of nostalgia. It takes you back. And, what Antstream do is they actually give you challenges which weren't like in the original games. So there's things that you can do, which then you get on the leaderboards and you can challenge your friends and stuff like that and get that competition going. So Sacha sent me bare challenges and I need to get on them because he's kicking my ass. So so thanks very much.
So
All right. Well, thanks very much for joining me today. And look, guys, as always, thank you very much for listening. We really appreciate it. If you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure you jump on there and click a subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell for the notification of our latest episodes. If you're listening to us on our podcast platforms, we are everywhere. So if you listen to this, please drop us a view, whether it's on iTunes, follow us on Spotify or Good Pods. Good Pods is a great platform for independent podcasts. It's available on iOS and Android. They will be doing a website version of it soon, but it's a great platform. So if you could review us on there, that'd be much appreciated. So that's it from us. So thank you very much, and until next time, peace out. Game over.